Wow, things really heated up during King Charles's visit to Australia. The King, along with Queen Camilla, was in Canberra, where he had just given a speech to the Australian Parliament. It all seemed to be going smoothly until, out of nowhere, a senator, Lidia Thorpe, shouted out from the back, "You are not my king, this is not your land." Talk about drama. Thorpe, who is an Aboriginal Australian politician, didn't hold back at all. First, she accused the monarchy of genocide, which is a pretty intense accusation. Then she went on to say, "Give us what you stole from us. Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people." Can you imagine the tension in that room? All eyes were probably on her as she continued, demanding a treaty for Australia's Indigenous people. "You destroyed our land, give us a treaty," she insisted. And it didn't stop there. Even as Thorpe was escorted out of the Great Hall, she kept shouting, "This is not your land, you are not my king, you are not our king." I have to say, she's not someone who shies away from speaking her mind, and honestly, it's kind of admirable how fiercely she stood her ground. Now, King Charles, being the calm, seasoned royal that he is, apparently didn't even flinch. It seems like he's no stranger to these kinds of public protests, and the palace didn't even comment on the matter. But, according to some palace insiders, the royal couple was actually feeling thankful for the thousands of supporters who came out to greet them. One source even mentioned how Charles and Camilla were deeply grateful and wished they could have spoken with more of the crowd. So, it looks like they're trying to focus on the positives. But let's not forget, right before this protest, Charles had made a point to acknowledge and pay respect to the First Nations people in his speech. He said something along the lines of appreciating the courage and hope that has led Australia's journey toward reconciliation. But, clearly, for Thorpe and others who share her views, these gestures aren't enough. There's still so much tension around the history between the British monarchy and Australia's Indigenous communities, and I feel like moments like this just highlight how deep those wounds still are. What makes this situation even more interesting is the whole debate about Australia potentially becoming a republic. A lot of people have been wondering how Australians would react to seeing Charles as their head of state, especially after Queen Elizabeth's passing. From what I've read, Charles himself is pretty chill about it. He said before that it's up to the people of the countries where he's king to decide if they want to keep the monarchy. But here's the kicker: support for a republic seems to be dropping. A recent poll showed that only 33% of Australians are in favour of becoming a republic, which is a drop from the 39% who supported it back in 1999. So, it looks like, despite these protests, there's still a decent amount of support for the monarchy, or at least not enough enthusiasm for making a switch. Meanwhile, the King and Queen are still out and about, doing the usual royal tour things. They've been welcomed by a didgeridoo performance, paid tribute at the Australian War Memorial, and even met an alpaca wearing a crown. Yes, you heard that right, an alpaca with a crown. I have to admit, seeing Charles tickle the alpaca's nose must have been quite a sight after all the tension earlier. And let's not forget, Charles is also using his platform to talk about something he's really passionate about: climate change. He stopped by CIRO, Australia's top scientific research organisation, to discuss how they're tackling those devastating bushfires that Australia deals with year after year. It's a huge issue, and I'm glad to see him focusing on something so crucial. So, yeah, this visit has been a mix of everything, from royal charm to fiery protests. What do you think? Should Australia continue to have a king, or is it time to go republic? Either way, the debate's clearly not over yet.